Ooh, you didn't tell me you were a brainiac.
Welcome into LeatherBrainz, your host, Slapdog here, and man, it is going to be an incredibly fun episode because we've got the full crew here. I got Scotty Del Rey and Alan Casanova Castro. Ooh. Gentlemen, I don't think we have recorded an episode together in dang near 2 months.
The boys are
this is absurd, but it feels so good.
Back in town.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, keep going if you'd like.
No. Yeah, warm them up.
Yeah, keep going.
I'll save it for the national anthem.
I feel like we had something to that.
Yeah, I feel like you did.
Dude, we're back.
Well, yeah, we're back. The whole crew's back. This is a wonderful moment in LeatherBrainz history because we are finally all together again to talk football. So, let's talk about it. We got the Wicked Witch is dead, a.k.a. Matt Eberflus, you gone. Jamyr Gibbs, he's a spy for his own team. Kirko Chainz stole Scotty's kickoff karaoke points. R.I.P. to that.
Fuck that guy, dude.
And so much more. Before we talk about football, gentlemen, I do need to talk about our sponsor, Erica's Healthy Pet. We've been talking about it all year long, and we're going to continue to talk about it all year long. Erica's Healthy Pet is the #1 place everybody should be going to get any treats for their loved dog. They have cheesy bites, turkey jerky, beef liver chews, sweet potato chips, and so much more. And gentlemen, I'm going to tell you the coolest part about this whole thing. If you go to Erica's Healthy Pet right now and you use code LB20, you are going to get 20% off anything in her website. So, including everything I just mentioned already as far as those treats, but there are so many other things, topical solutions. There are a plethora of different items there to choose from. Go to ericashealthypet.com, use code LB20, and you're going to get 20% off. So go check it out. Once again, Erica's Healthy Pet, not pets, ericashealthypet.com, LB20, 20% off. All right. Let's talk football, gentlemen. Week 13 review. But I want to talk about something we normally don't talk about here at LeatherBrainz. Typically, we're NFL football. That's what we talk about. But I want to talk about college football for just a moment because this is kind of an interesting thing that's happened this last weekend, and I think it warrants discussion. So I want to talk about planting some flags, okay? So while I know that we're primarily, like I mentioned, an NFL show, there were a couple college or collegiate teams this weekend that tried to plant flags, and some fights broke out. Namely, Ohio State and Michigan was the one that kind of broke national media news. And so Ohio State lost to Michigan. Michigan tried to plant their flag on the Ohio State logo at midfield. Ohio State players went berserk to the point where they had to pepper spray both the teams to get them to separate.
It was crazy.
Which is pretty awesome. Like, just, I mean, like, if that just goes to show commitment. And then Arizona State planted the flag in Arizona's stadium after Arizona State had won. Florida planted the flag in Florida State. A fight ensued. North Carolina State attempted to plant a flag at UNC. A fight breaks out. So let me ask you this, boys. What's going on? What are our thoughts towards planting flags in opposing stadiums?
I would say do it in reverse. If that Ohio State and Michigan, let them plant the flag ahead of time, then try to kick each other's ass, and then go play a football game. I would much rather have watched that. I think Ohio State probably would have won if they did it in reverse, because they actually looked like they wanted to play and actually hit somebody after the fact. It was like the game's already over, and then they wanted to kick Michigan's ass, but like during the game, they didn't seem really interested. So I think if I'm a fan, I say maybe start with that, like an old like war, almost like march them to the 50-yard line, like Revolutionary War, and have like somebody playing on the drums right in front of them, and just have them go at it for like 5-10 minutes, and then separate them, and then kick off. That's just
now. Here's the only issue with that. If they had to bring out the pepper spray before the game started, that might impede on players' ability to play football successfully. Is that just a risky run?
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I would say just let them go.
Yeah, I'm not known for my young hip takes. I'm kind of the old man in terms of personality, not in terms of actual age. Sorry, Alan. But when it comes to shit like this, like when it comes to taunting, when it comes to like talking shit, let them fucking do it. Let them play. You lost the game. Let them plant the flag. You lost the fucking game. It is what it is. It's a rivalry week thing. It's not like they're doing it every single week. It's rivalry week. Ohio State hasn't beaten Michigan, and God knows how long. Ryan Day is going to get fired, even though they might win the national championship. It's a weird situation. Let them plant the flag. Let them fight it out a little bit. You got to pepper spray them. That's why you got police with pepper spray.
You know where this is going. The NCAA is they're gonna ban
take it away.
flags. They're going to be like, this
Which is the dumbest
It's
thing.
so dumb. It's
like, here's an idea. Don't lose the game.
Yeah.
Don't lose the game.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't want your rival to plant their flag in midfield
in your stadium,
don't lose the game.
Then don't lose at home. Just don't lose at
Easy
home.
solution.
Like, you could lose the game. You could lose on the road, because if they want to plant their flag in their own stadium, that's like, whatever. That's your stadium. Just don't lose at home. I don't know.
We own this. Yes, we do.
It's that simple.
Yes, we do.
It's competition.
I think it's a big nothing. I think Ohio State should almost, like, I get it. I get both sides. You're fired up for the rivalry. You want to plant your flag. You're pissed off because you just lost, and now they're disrespecting your field. But, like, you lost.
Don't lose.
Like,
don't lose.
Go. Just go then. Like, I think maybe the NCAA should escort the losing team immediately, and then just have them sit in the locker room and have them videotape and watch the live feed of everything that the opposing team's doing to their stadium. Like, maybe some of the guys go and, like, take a shit on their sideline, but they just have to watch it. Like, that should be your punishment for losing the game. And I think that would motivate me as a player to be like, damn, I never want to lose these again. That guy just shit in my spot where I normally sit on the bench. Like, that sucks. I'm not watching that. I'm not doing this ever again.
I have another idea. As soon as the losing team would lose, so if like Ohio State in this instance, if they were to lose, all the players have to line up, and police come out and just handcuff all of them, and then Michigan can plant their flag. So at any point, if you lose in your own stadium, you get handcuffed immediately.
They're all just crying, handcuffed, while they're taking shits on their field.
Just getting
that'd be good TV.
Getting kicked in the nuts because now they can't defend or block anything.
Yeah.
I hope the NCAA doesn't take that away, though, and I could see them doing something like that, and that would be.
Oh, they will. They will.
That's the worst. Like, just don't lose, and maybe if you didn't lose, they wouldn't plant your flag. All right. Let's talk NFL. Let's talk about what we are here for, and it is Matt Eberflus finally getting fired after the Bears once again lose 20-23. So the Bears continue to be the Bears, and they let time expire when there was more than 30 seconds left on the game clock. And guys, I don't know if you saw this. They had a timeout, by the way. They had a timeout. They could have at least attempted a field goal. They didn't call the timeout. Clock expired. Game over. Right? Eberflus was asked after the game if he would have done anything different, and he had replied, no. Like, no, we did exactly what we were planning on doing here. Yeah, absolutely absurd. And then Eberflus was then fired the next day. So could not be more excited for this.
Do you think he was fired because of the outcome or because of his answer he gave to the question? Which one got him fired?
I think in order for the Bears to fire a head coach in season, which they've never done ever, it takes clearly a laundry list of things. So it's not only these instances, but it's also all of the other things that have compiled over the last several seasons. I think Bears fans should be thanking Matt Eberflus personally, because it was clear the Bears were very reluctant to get rid of him, and he did maybe the one thing outside of like committing a felony on camera that he could have done to say, okay, they have no choice but to get rid of him. Like, he totally fucking blew this game. He totally completely eliminated any chance that they had of winning. And so it's like, that's the one thing he could have done in order for them to be like, okay, like, we're done here. We're not doing this anymore. I don't care if it's the first time ever that we fired a coach in season, but we're doing it now because you are that big of a doofus.
Well, and then hours before he was fired, he actually gave like a game cap like review. Like, he got up in front of the press and was like, talking to him, and he's like, I feel confident about being here, and like, we're going to be okay. And then a couple hours later, he was canned. And I thought that was absolutely hilarious. But to your point, Scotty, I mean, you look at the Bears, like, and we've talked about the Bears ad nauseum this entire season, as we should, because I think there's a lot going on with the Bears. But you look at Matt Eberflus and what he's done throughout this season, and I think we can all agree Matt Eberflus is not a good coach, and he should have gotten fired before the season started. But you look at some of the things that he's done playing good teams, and like, the Bears have been in it, gone into overtime, been very, very close to winning a lot of these games. I think they've lost largely due to Eberflus, but is Ryan Poles sitting here saying, okay, well, he's the reason we made it, into overtime, or he's the reason we were still competitive in this game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So to Scotty's question, like, is him saying no the reason he got fired? I think that probably is a huge reason as to why he got fired, because if he was to get up there in front of the national media and say, I screwed up, I should have done better, And there were reports that came out that Caleb Williams was waiting for the play call, realized it wasn't going to come in time, tried to call an audible to throw a Hail Mary to try and win the game. Whether that's true or not, I'm not entirely sure, but that's being reported. And so if he would have got up and got ahead of it, would Ryan Poles maybe have kept him, or was the entire not calling the timeout the straw that broke that camel's back, in your opinions?
It was very obvious that his between game coaching wasn't great because they didn't look prepared to play on Sundays. And you could draw conclusions pretty directly that he's pretty inept at game planning and getting his team in positions to win the game. Just, finding wrinkles, finding something that the other team does well, even self-scouting. Like, he kept doing the same dumbass things that his team just couldn't do well. So he didn't even self-scout himself correctly, which, teams do fairly regularly. This one was now in front and center of everybody live, where you had one of the more in-game easy things to manage. This should be a layup for any head coach in the NFL. Maybe collegiate, you're young, maybe you don't quite put this together, things happen quickly on the field, but for an NFL coach commanding this type of team with the number one overall pick, with a lot of weapons on the field, to get into that position and still screw it up. This was just one of those things where for Poles, it was just there's nothing I can do. Everybody just saw that live. I can't go on to the next game and be no, he'll figure it out, because it's very clear now. In between the games, he can't do it. And now in the games, it's very obvious he can't manage it anymore.
Yeah, and how many times is Caleb Williams going to basically put together a game-winning or game-tying drive, and then they still lose? Caleb Williams played awesome in the second half and kept him in this game. And even on that last drive, they still had a little ways to go, but he's playing good. And this is the fourth time he's done that. And then they lose the game. And as I've said before, when it's a blowout game, you can say, okay, the roster is really good. A lot of talent on this roster. Players are making it happen. When it's a one-score game, coaching decisions make or break a team. And we've seen time and time again now with Eberflus this season that he is just not the right guy. Maybe he'll be the DC for the Bengals, because they need to make some changes over there, and he might be a good fit for that position.
Yeah, and this is, if you're a Bears fan, the thing that is ultra upsetting is, what do we think? The Lions are the best team in the NFL? If we were to do a quick power ranking right here between the three of us, we put the Lions at number one.
Tough injuries on defense, but
everybody's at this point in the season battling something they don't like. And, the Bears were there to tie the game, to send it to overtime in Detroit with the number one team in the NFL, which many people largely think just run away, this is the best team. And so that's also tough, because you had it, you're right there. And what's the difference? What was the difference in this game? It was Eberflus.
That's been what it's largely been in all of these games. And I think Caleb Williams is trying to get things done in spite of the poor coaching. So this continues. The journey continues for this team without Eberflus. There are names being floated around as potential candidates. One of which is, of course, Ben Johnson, which we've talked about also ad nauseum here, about how if Ben Johnson were to come over here, this offense could look really, really fun. And Alan, you and I had talked about this in previous weeks, about they need to go find a coach that is good offensively. They need to find a good offensive coach that can develop Caleb Williams appropriately, so that way the Bears can actually have a chance at being half decent here. Another name that's being floated around is Cliff Kingsbury. So I have my thoughts towards it. Do you guys have any thoughts towards Cliff, Ben Johnson, any of the coaches? Braves is being thrown around.
Here's how you rank them. I think right now, given the coaches that are likely available, I think Ben Johnson still tops the list. But I'm not without concerns with that, because obviously he'd be a first-time head coach. On top of that, we're watching Ben Johnson's awesome offenses with the best offensive line in football. So what happens when he has the Bears offensive line? Is he able to do any of the shit that he normally can do? So there are question marks with that. But having an offensive-minded head coach to me is paramount. And then I'd probably put Vrabel. I don't like having a defensive-minded head coach there, but he's going to bring some continuity to the program at the very least, and that's something that you desperately need as a Bears fan too. Cliff Kingsbury, he had one time as a head coach, and it kind of failed miserably. He's a good offensive coordinator. I don't think you need to put him in that position, personally. He wouldn't even be on the list if I was the Bears organization.
I tend to agree with that. As a Cardinals fan who had Cliff Kingsbury, I think Cliff was not ready to be a head coach, and I still don't think he's there yet. I do think he's a great offensive mind, and I think he could be great as an OC. I don't know if I would want him as the Bears head coach. And if I'm a Bears fan, I don't think I'd want that because I've seen it play out. Now, the only argument that a lot of people are making is, well, he did coach Caleb when he was at USC. So they already have a rapport there, which could mean something. But I still don't know if I would like that. And then what's that do for the Commanders as well?
Yeah. If you don't get your number one in an offensive head coach, I think the only other thing you could do is if you get somebody like Vrabel, I'd just get on the phone and call Eric Bieniemy and just be like, hey man, you want to give it another go in the NFL and let's see what you can do with this offense, because there's certainly weapons there and he knows how to draw up plays and he knows what he's doing in that respect, and maybe you go that route, but I don't know how creative they want to get. Like I said, I think they hosed themselves already. I don't know if they're going to be able to catch up to the mistake that was not hiring Harbaugh. I think they're just going to be chasing that from now till the end of time. Because
but you can't sit there and look at this and say, and I don't disagree with you, by the way, but you can't look at this and be like, well, they know they effed up. Obviously they know they effed up, or they would still have Eberflus on their team. But they can't sit there and just keep shooting themselves in the foot continuously because they didn't get Harbaugh, because at the end of the day, they have to look forward and they're going to have to make some decisions. And I do think they screwed up by not getting Harbaugh, but you're playing with the cards you're dealt, and he's not on the table at the moment.
Yeah. No, and I think that's why I think the next hire or combination of hires to the staff has to equal or be better than what people perceive Harbaugh is. Otherwise, people are going to be like, this isn't going to work.
Do you think Ryan Poles is on the hot seat?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, because from a GM standpoint, obviously, like you have roster construction, and a lot of the head coaching hiring and firing also comes from the owner. Like a lot of that maybe isn't done because depending on the organization, that's all with the owner and not all with the GM, like maybe some of the personnel decisions were. So I guess when I say that, if it was Ryan Poles' decision solely, I think so. But I almost wonder if this wasn't wholly his decision, because if, did he maybe want to get rid of him last year? Was he not able to? And that's something we won't ever know. And that's some of the politics that goes on. But this is exactly why people say, when you hear anybody at like a post Super Bowl celebration, they say, oh, it was from the coaching staff to the GM to the owner. Everybody was in sync. It's not like, that's not just, talk for talk. Like that's real. Like that all has to line up. Like the owner has to be in line with what the GM wants to do, with what the head coach wants to do. Otherwise you get some chaos.
All right. Well, we're talking about chaos. Let's talk about Jamyr Gibbs. Did you guys see this freaking, what a goober. Jamyr Gibbs, he leaked a bunch of the Lions plays. He was taking a Snapchat picture with plays written on a whiteboard in the background where you can very clearly read all these plays and all these calls. You guys see this?
Yeah. Did you see the press conference where the media informed Dan Campbell that this happened?
Yeah.
And he said, what happened? And then he was like, oh, I didn't know that.
He's like, who did this?
I would prefer all of our information not be leaked into the public. And then he just left the podium. He just stormed off.
Hey,
he's got to do mitigation control and rename his plays.
Let's we got to inform our Wednesday crew. Maybe they inform him to sit Gibbs this week, because I bet you his carry total falls off.
It's like, dude, you can't
that's
do that.
a tough situation.
You can't do that.
Get off social media. You're
Did you read the board? I looked at the picture and tried to read some of the plays, and obviously I'm stupid, so I have no idea. But I'm sure that meant something to somebody.
Oh, it
did. Who knows?
Yeah,
because NFL coaches they steal from each other. Nobody does anything in a vacuum. They all learn from this guy that learned from this guy. So I'm assuming a lot of the language they use, somebody knows. And so oh, interesting. So I'm sure they picked up something.
We also have to remember that this is the same offense that shuffle passes it to their left tackle all the time, and they do all sorts of weird shit. Maybe this was all just a plan. Maybe this is a big brain move. They're like, all right, we're going to put out all these plays. They're fake. They mean the opposite of whatever people think they mean. And bam, we got the leg up on our next opponent.
Oh my God.
3D chess.
I mean, do they get?
Did you just compliment Dan Campbell inadvertently?
I complimented him a lot last time we were on. You remember?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're all in on Dan now, I think. Or
That's
you're
what I
at
said.
least okay.
Are you?
Right.
Yeah, he did say Lions were the
He
number
did.
one team in the NFL.
He did.
Well,
He
and
did say
last week I
Also-
explicitly said I'm all in on Dan Campbell because he cut out all the bullshit.
So if he does another bullshit move, are you back on the fence, kind of like I am with Kyle Pitts?
Maybe.
Because I want you to know, ever since I got on that train, it's been a
Yeah,
wreck.
you fucked up my Kyle
So-
Pitts train.
So what we should be nervous about is that because now Matt is on the Lions train, it could be derailed at any moment.
It could be.
I think I'm good luck. Maybe.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But while we're talking about things getting derailed, let's talk about the Chiefs because they barely skate by again. And you're both Chiefs fans, so this is a good talking point for you guys. The Chiefs barely win this game 19-17. And the thing that stuck out to me watching this game, as I'm sure it did for you guys, is your tackles are a huge problem for the Chiefs. And Max Crosby was eating up. Unfortunately, or fortunately, for Chiefs fans, it wasn't enough for the Raiders. So they did win this game in a 2-minute drill. The Raiders marched down the field, get into field goal range. And this was a really close game. It's got all screwed up because the center went completely rogue, snapped the ball when nobody was ready, led to a turnover with the Chiefs, and you win the game. But this very quickly could have been a very different story had a very random and unfortunate thing for the Raiders not happened. So I'm going to just throw the mic out in the middle of the field. Whoever wants to pick it up between the two of you, go for it. But let's talk about the Chiefs.
Yeah, how do you want to do this, Scotty? Do you want me to riff first and hand it off to you?
Good. I'm usually pretty pessimistic, so you're optimistic.
I think you nailed it. I think the tackles are obviously an issue. One tackle in particular, which is probably one of the more important pieces in football, being your left tackle, has been a serious problem for the Chiefs all year, which Mahomes doesn't have any time. It's hard to get plays off. Even that fourth down play where they went for it, the right side couldn't block, and that was largely Kelsey. And the ability to protect the quarterback this year has been a problem for the Chiefs. And Mahomes has already been sacked the most out of any season already, and we still got plenty of games left. So there are glaring, obvious things that need to get fixed. The other thing is the secondary. Secondary is a huge problem. The Raiders, passed for 318. The Raiders in this game had more total yards, more passing yards, more yards per play. They led in time of possession. The one difference was really that fumble and their ability to convert third downs. The Chiefs were converting over 50% of their third downs. So when they needed to convert, the Chiefs could convert. It's just in the red zone they couldn't do anything, or they flamed out and tried to go for it and nothing good was happening. And so by all accounts, the Chiefs should have lost this game. The other thing is, if you are a Chiefs fan, in all likelihood, they should be on a 4-game skid. They lost. They should have lost to the Broncos. Back further than that, bro. Well, they should. If you go to like immediate drawing lines of games, they should have lost. They should have lost to the Broncos. That should have been an easy field goal. Obviously, they go to the Bills and lose. Bills are probably the number 2 team in football. Would we say? Would we go Lions, Bills?
I'd probably go Lions,
right
Eagles.
Up there.
But the Bills are
Lions, Eagles, Bills.
Conversation.
Yeah. Well, we get Lions and Bills soon. So we'll get this one will get sorted out in the regular season a little bit too. So they lost to the Bills. Then Carolina, you could argue maybe they should have lost that one. Obviously the Chiefs kind of took control with that last second drive. And then this one. So the Chiefs should be on a 4-game skid. Instead they're 3-1 over this 4-game stretch. They're 11-1. And but the only, I would say, optimistic thing as a Chiefs fan, which it isn't much, because I said it last week with you Slaps, is that if this team goes into the playoffs, they're one and done. This team right now, they're one and done because they can't protect the quarterback and they can't stop the pass. And those are 2 things you have to do to move on. And it's just not gonna happen. But those are 2 very obvious things they have to fix. If they can figure out how to fix it, things would look better.
The biggest go ahead.
Go ahead, Scotty.
The biggest problem for me is the defense, and obviously protecting Mahomes is a huge issue. But the defense is something we've been able to rely on for a few years now. And over the last 2 weeks, this secondary has fallen apart. I mean, we gave up 300 yards to Bryce Young and Aiden O'Connell. Like, what is going on? Like, it is so drastic that it looks like a completely different defensive unit from like week 2 to now. And that is terrifying. And obviously, everyone's dealing with injuries. We've got injuries as well. But that is terrifying. And we're not equipped as an offensive unit right now to compete in shootouts. So if our defense can't stop the pass, like, we're going to have a real problem. And the one optimistic thing I have to say is what we've just learned about Patrick Mahomes, is that when crunch time comes, he performs night and day better. And this team as a whole seems to perform night and day better. And when we look at where we were at last year, we had already lost several games at this point. We knew going into the playoffs that we were going to have some away games, and it looks like we're going to have home games. Obviously, this year, we're in a better spot going into the postseason than we were last year. And I would argue that all the criticisms that were offering about this team are very similar to what we were saying about this team last year, and they pulled it off. So my optimism is still relatively high, just given what we've seen from the team in the postseason. But like, I'd be lying if I said that this team, if they have to go play anyone in the playoffs right now, it just feels like it's not going to go well.
Mm-hmm. Well, something that I'm curious to pick your brains on is, Patrick Mahomes doesn't look as mobile as he has the last few years either. And so does that bring any air of concern for you guys as Chiefs fans? Is the dad bod kicking in a little bit more here? Is he getting less mobile than he historically has looked the last few seasons? And I understand that the O-line is a problem, but one of the things that makes Patrick Mahomes so great is the fact that he is able to extend the play with his legs, and it looks like even that's not happening nearly as often as it has in past seasons.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think he's already broken records for his career longs in rushing yards this year. So he's already had like 40-yard rushing or 40-yard rush or whatever. Like we've seen him extend plays. It's just a matter of, before his offensive line seemed to be semi-competent, and now this offensive line is just porous as hell.
Yeah, I think the difference is he would extend plays with his legs, and he had time to do it. Now he's having to extend plays because his line, he has no time to do it. So he's like trying to buy extra seconds for his guys to get open. So there's a lot of problems. Whatever, I get it. I get the perception. We're kind of doing an in-talk NFL rankings. So we have the Lions. We say the Lions are number 1. We're kind of split. Eagles, Bills, 2, 3. Who's 4?
Cardinals. Man, who's 4?
Packers are
Ravens.
up there, probably.
Ravens
are up there.
They're both frisky.
Yeah, I think it'd be easier to split them up into tiers. There are a lot of teams that could win the Super Bowl this year.
Do you think in the Vikings? I mean, they're up there.
Mm-hmm.
They record-wise, Steelers I think look amazing. I think part of what I think that is ailing the Chiefs is they're largely a victim of their previous successes, and everybody's used to things looking a certain way previously with the Chiefs, and now they're just kind of looking like a gritty team. They sneak some wins out, and that's not largely what people view this team is supposed to be. And I think they have a standard for themselves as well, but we'll see what happens. I don't know, because we just talked about how the Lions almost lost to the Bears at home, and the Bears we say is a dumpster fire, but nobody's largely looking at the Lions being like, whoa, is there a problem in Detroit? Why, you had to come back and Goff threw 4 picks against the Texans, and then you barely beat the Bears, but we just largely say they're number 1. But I think all these teams have flaws. I think it's just the Chiefs largely, being the back-to-back. This comes with the territory. You're going to get picked. You're going to get picked apart.
Yeah. Speaking of getting picked apart, let's talk about Kirko Chainz, because Scotty, this is your words, not mine, but he made you look like a dumbass, and that's straight from you. So the Chargers win this game 17-13 against the Falcons. Scotty, talk us as to why Kirko Chainz may have made you look like a dumbass.
Well, he single-handedly cost them the game. Let me tell you how terrible the Chargers are. They got 4 extra possessions because Kirk Cousins forgot how to play football this game, and Justin Herbert threw for under 150 yards. The entire running back room combined for 55 yards. This offense was pathetic. Like, the Chargers looked so bad. And on top of that, the Chargers offense looked like they could not stop the Falcons pass rush, which is one of the worst in the NFL. So like, this Chargers team looked abysmal. The only benefit that they had is Kirk Cousins was hell-bent on not giving me fucking points in Kickoff Karaoke because both you guys bet on the Chargers, and I started watching this game and I'm like, holy shit, the Chargers are even worse than I imagined. And Kirk Cousins just decided, nope, fuck you, Scotty. You're screwed, and I'm going to give this game away. I mean, honestly, like, if Kirk Cousins if he cuts his interceptions in half, if Younghoe Koo doesn't miss field goals, like, they win this game easily, like, walking away. It's not even close. And, it is what it is. Congrats to the Chargers for pulling it out.
They say if grandma had a penis, she'd be grandpa. So, sometimes that's just how it fucking goes. And we talked about this. We talked about this last week, Slaps, with the Vikings on how they're able to leverage the quarterback strengths and the systems that they have. You look at Sam Darnold. Obviously they brought in Daniel Jones. You were pumped about that too. Like, hey, look what we did. And like the Vikings, the Vikings can do this. And then you look at, now this is a little bit not apples to apples because Kirk did have the injury, which largely led to his exit in Minnesota. But then you look at how he's showing up in Atlanta and you're like, damn, like how much of that was the system versus what Kirk was actually able to do? And it's like, is this a warning sign to anybody looking to buy Sam Darnold this offseason, knowing what this team produces versus how they end up in other spots? And I think you're kind of seeing that with Kirk. Like, I think his age is catching up to him. I think whatever they're doing continuity wise in Atlanta is not necessarily working. I think they're relying on Kirk too much to make a play, and that's not what Kirk wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the system that Kirk was in when he was with the Vikings. And I'm glad you brought this up because this is where I was going to go next with this conversation is at what point in time do we see Michael Penix rolled out? Do we see him get rolled out this season? Because if Kirk Cousins is going to play like this continuously, yeah, the Falcons are locked in on a 4-year deal, and at the end of this year, it'll be 3 more years with Kirk Cousins. But do they look to try and move on from Kirk Cousins? I mean, they drafted Penix with the 6th overall pick or the 9th overall pick or what have you. Like they got him when a lot of people are like, what are you doing here? Maybe, and the counter argument that we made when that pick had happened was maybe they know something that we don't. Maybe Kirk is not healthy. Maybe Kirk is not looking great. This wasn't a good move, and now people are kind of starting to knock on that door and say, okay, when do we see Penix? What's going on here? Is Kirko Chainz not the quarterback that we thought he was? And I think that maybe some of that holds ground because he's not with Kevin O'Connell anymore.
Yeah, I think Kevin O'Connell makes a huge difference. But I also think we got to pump the brakes on Kirk Cousins a little bit. I know I'm talking a lot of shit, but he's had some games this year where he's looked really good in the system. It's been the last 3 games, like what have you done for me lately kind of thing. And the last 3 games, Kirk has struggled. Before that, he's had some good games, especially when they're playing in division. So to me, it's like I don't know. You sign him to a 4-year deal. You don't pull the plug this early. He's played some good games. You're still right in the mix in your division. I think you got to ride him out a little bit longer. But if this continues, then you might have no choice but to put Penix in.
Yeah, ironically, they're at the Vikings next. So this would be an interesting time to pull him because largely this is thought of to be a homecoming for Kirk. The rest of the schedule is Vikings, Raiders, Giants, Commanders, Panthers. That's what the Falcons have left, and right now they're tied for the division.
They should be able
the
to
other
win this
side
game.
is they should be able to. The problem is they're not scoring points. And I think you kind of got to look at trends. If you're the head coach, this would be a ballsy move to make when you're tied for first, is to do a change at the quarterback position. That'd be a ballsy move. But only he knows the trajectory, like where his team's going. The statistics tell you their offense is going in the shitter. They have a negative point differential. This year they've only scored in their division more points than the Panthers. Everybody else is way ahead of them in points scored this season. And that's what you kind of look at. You're like, we're not scoring enough. And are we really going to rely on our defense? But the only question is Penix really going to give you a shot in the arm? Like, is he ready to take that step? Because if you switch him and he's not ready, then you basically just surrendered the whole division for no reason. So it would be a ballsy move. I don't think they will do it for that very reason, because the sum of their parts have got them to where they are, which is a tie for the division, even at 6-6, which is hilarious to say, but that's where they are. And so I think they just got to try to figure it out. I think you just got to you got to draw up better shit right now for Kirk, because he's got the yips or something.
Did you hear that Matthew McConaughey has given acting lessons to Bijan Robinson? I just saw this from someone today that there was a bunch of they interviewed Matthew McConaughey, and he was like, yeah, I've known Bijan since he came on his first visit to Texas, and we've been buddies ever since, and he really wants to get into acting. And you can see on the field he's got the instincts, and he can pull it off. And I'm just like, okay, I don't...
How does that translate? How high was
McConaughey's? Yeah, he's kind of an odd duck.
He seems like he might be high most of the time.
I'm convinced that's who Aaron Rodgers bought his ayahuasca from. If you want to get into the conspiracy theories, like he bought it from Matthew McConaughey.
Honestly, that would not surprise me. Like if news broke saying that was the case, I'd be like, that tracks.
If that's the case, then Bijan should stay far, far away from Matthew McConaughey, because clearly it does not help at all.
Well,
no.
By the time Aaron Rodgers did ayahuasca, he was already on the downfall. So you're probably right. All right, we're talking about downfalls. Let's talk about the freaking Cardinals, man.
That was rough. What do you think? What do you think, man? This was heartbreaking.
I'm done. I'm freaking
You had 'em.
done, boys.
You're off the train again.
Dude,
Do your legs hurt from getting on and off the train over and over?
Yes, we lost to the Vikings 23-22. My thoughts are this, boys. John Gannon needs to go. Fire this freaking goob of a head coach. All we did all game was kick field goals. That's all we did all freaking game. And it's like at some point, you got to fucking put your big boy pants on and figure out, do I want to win this game or do I want to kick another damn field goal? And he had the opportunity to do it. He could have went for it. And then he's like, you know what? No, I think we're going to kick another field goal. And that's why we lost. This offense is dilapidated. Every single week, I truly don't know what to expect as a Cardinals fan. The Cardinals are frisky. In my mind, the Cardinals are a frisky team this year because you don't know on any given week what Cardinals team is going to show up. Are you going to shit the bed or are you going to come out and absolutely dominate the team? And every single week, I could just sit there and flip a coin and say, I don't know if we're going to win this. Let me just flip a coin. And it truly feels that way with this team. Our offense is not good. And I'll say our defense is not terrible. Our defense is not horrid, and that's what Jonathan Gannon is he's a defensive-minded coach. But our offensive coordinator is a freaking idiot. We haven't done anything offensively, and we don't have... Alan and I talked last week about identity when it comes to a team. And for the Cardinals, for the life of me, I don't feel any identity on this team whatsoever. I don't feel like we have a wonderful defense to stand on. I don't feel like our offense is consistently clicking very well, and... It feels like it's just they're going through the motions right now, which is absurd when you look at the division. This division is up for grabs. Like if we would have won last week, we would be very close to the top, competing with the Seahawks for the lead in the division. And it's like I don't know where to go. Truthfully, I mean the 49ers just lost Christian McCaffrey and Mason, so it's like. Okay, the 49ers may be at the bottom of the division. The Rams are sneaky. It's just I don't know what to feel or where to go with this team, but I'm exhausted from just riding the emotional roller coaster, and I think I'm just gonna get off of it. And if we go to the playoffs, I don't even know how excited I'll be because I will be excited.
Well,
but like,
let me ask you this: you come out next week and you beat the Seahawks, are you right back on the train? That'd be pretty exciting.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Like that's where this whole season's at for me.
Here's some positivity for you. I think what it comes down to is red zone scoring, which you said you kicked a lot of field goals. So that's a problem with that. But that plagues a lot of teams, right? When teams are going through it, that's largely the one thing. Okay, you can get into the red zone. Now, can you score?
No.
And penalties. You can't commit 10 penalties in an NFL game and not be efficient in the red zone and expect to walk away with a victory. Here's the thing that is somewhat positive. I mean, in every statistical category, you pretty much dominated the Vikings. The one thing that I would have suggested more is maybe running the ball more. I think that backfield is averaging, close to 6 yards a carry, and they just kind of got away from it and just kept wanting to throw it, which I don't know if it's the right thing to do. Obviously, it wasn't working, and I think a lot of that plays into red zone. Dominated time of possession, dominated total yards. It just blew them out of the water rushing yards. It was the penalties and the red zone scoring. That's literally the two things. If you can negate the penalties, you can find a way to punch a few of those in the red zone.
I just don't.
A totally different conversation.
My heart doesn't say we're going to figure it out. Like that's the problem. Like I don't think we're going to figure it out. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think we are. And
let me give you another positive. Kickers fucking suck, and your kicker makes all his field goals. Well, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Spin zone. That's a pretty good.
That's
you guys
better than
lost
a lot of teams.
Still lost the game.
That's a sick kicker. You should trade your kicker to the Ravens and then see what you can get. That'd be pretty sick.
You might be able to get Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
that would be sick. And then move Kyler to running back.
Yeah.
One game and he's dead.
Make us GM.
Well, let's talk about a quarterback who's kind of up in the rise, and that would be Bryce Young. The Bucs did win this game, 26-23 against the Panthers, but this is the second week in a row that the Panthers have kind of come to play, and Bryce Young threw for nearly 300 yards, a touchdown, and 0 interceptions, and he played the Chiefs last week, and the Panthers almost won that game as well. So Bryce Young. I mean, the Panthers have now come out and said, like, hey, they're not a good team. They know they're not a good team, but they have a high draft capital pick coming up in this draft here in the event that they continue to lose games, which is probable. And they've said they're not going to look for another quarterback in this draft, which is if Bryce Young is going to play the way that Bryce Young has continued to play these last 2 weeks, I don't think there's any reason why you should go get another quarterback in the draft.
I think because the team sucks so bad, people aren't talking enough about Bryce Young, but this is kind of a sick comeback story he's got. He sucked.
Oh, yeah.
He gets benched. He comes back in, and he looks like a brand new player. Like, he just looks like getting benched for a little bit, just completely turned his mindset around. And now he sort of looks like what we expected coming out of college. And this team's always going to be limited because they just don't have weapons. Like, and that's been the problem for the Panthers for like a decade. And they keep trading away all their picks. But honestly, if you're a Panthers fan right now, you're like, okay, like this is kind of what we expected to see. We're going to have a high draft pick again. We can add some weapons here, and maybe we can start building something with this team and have some continuity. It's only been 2 games that Bryce Young's been playing real well, but 2 games is better than none, and there's reason for optimism.
Yeah. Shout out to Bryce Young, because he definitely could have gone a different direction after he was benched for a little bit. You know, he could have been in his feels, woe is me. But I think it speaks
I thought
to
they
the
were going to
character.
trade him. I thought he was done.
Yeah.
We all were out on him. Because, you know, we always talk about, like, why does it take so long for these GMs to figure out if they have something or not? And I was definitely one that was like, it's not happening, because he looked completely lost. But he looks comfortable in his own skin. I think that's part of it. You kind of look at a quarterback there, like, does he look frantic? Does he look like he can make a play? And like, he now looks like somebody that you're like, wow, he's making scrambling throws, extending plays, doing things that we praise all these other quarterbacks for doing, you know, all the time. And he's doing it. And he's doing it with a roster that's like depleted and doesn't have much to work with. And so I think if you're the Panthers, you have, this is something you have to say, you have to commit to it, because you also have to look at it from the flip side. You know, you want to try to, if you're going to stick with him, you also want to build something in free agency. And if he's looking good, you want the free agents coming in and be like, all right, cool. Like, this is our quarterback. He actually is looking good. Like, I know what I'm going to be getting into. And that's a big part of it too. So this is also a smart, big brain move to announce it now, as people are starting to think about their future and you're starting to plan, because this is, I'd agree with him. I think he looks really good. It'll be interesting to see what another, you know, off season does for him and how he looks going into next year. But I'm impressed. Now, using the Chiefs as a measuring stick probably isn't good anymore, because we just said how shitty the Chiefs secondary is. But it all stands to reason still. I mean, he's still making the plays, because he could have.
You got to
give like a bag of dicks.
You got to give Panthers something to hang their hat on, and them almost coming in and beating the Chiefs. Like, yeah, that for a shit team, that's a win. And I mean, obviously, it's not a win-win, and that's what you're hoping for. But like, that's still something that you can be proud of and say, we almost beat the Chiefs this year, right?
Yeah, so that's the nice part about being the dog that's trying to get up to that next level, is that you can find reasons to be optimistic even in losses. Like, when you're at the top of the pack, it's so easy to be critical about everything because you expect to win every game. But when you're the Panthers, you're like, fuck yeah, we lost, but Bryce Young looked awesome. I'm excited. And you're kind of bought back in. It's so easy to get bought back in for those fans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which they desperately need, because I looked at my wife actually looked at the Cardinals and the Panthers play here at the end of December, and she goes, you want to go up to the game? And I was like, absolutely not. And she was like, tickets are $20. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm okay, because there's a chance the Cardinals are going to lose against the Panthers, and I don't want to go sit in the cold and watch that happen when I could sit at home comfortably with this TV right behind me, and I could watch all the football games instead of just the Cardinals and the Panthers play, which is somewhat of an abysmal thing to do.
It's fair. The couch is undefeated.
Yeah, amen. Let's talk about the Eagles. Saquon Barkley, he's undefeated. Or he's not undefeated, but he's pretty dang close, because he's the man. I mean, the Eagles win this game 24-19 against the Ravens, and it's because of Saquon. He is the absolute difference maker for this entire team. Jalen Hurts threw for 118 yards total. This is, typically where we see the Eagles kind of fall apart, but adding Saquon into the mix here has been the key differentiator for this team this entire season. And Alan, you and I talked about it last week. I do believe Saquon Barkley should be the MVP this year, and he's proving why. He's proving to everybody that he's MVP's a quarterback typically driven award, and it's like this year I think it deserves to go to Saquon unless shit hits the fan here in the last few weeks. But if the trend continues, I think it should be Saquon. And then the Ravens are still they're now 8-5, still have a 98% chance of making the playoffs. So let's talk about the Ravens just a little bit here. Losing to the Eagles here, this was a game I had circled this week, and I was like, this is a very important game because I want to see how these two teams play out. I want to see what happens here. I had the Eagles win in this game, and they did. And now begs the question: are the Ravens, are they still contending to make a deep playoff run after this? And like, or do you think that they're capable of making a deep playoff run? Because to start the season, everybody had the Ravens circled as like, Super Bowl favorites or right up there.
I think they also had the Ravens and Justin Tucker circled as being a surefire thing. And if you look, he missed some kicks here, which totally would have changed the complexion of this game and maybe how the Ravens would have played it as he's able to make them. And I think that's going to be the difference maker when you get into the playoffs. If there's anything from the Ravens end, that is a good Eagles team. Nothing to hang your head about. Like, they're playing really good ball right now. Probably the best team, if not the best team in the NFC behind the Lions. And if I'm the Ravens and I'm looking at this Ravens team, the one thing that stands out to me is that if you can get them into 3rd and long, they still haven't quite figured that out. They still struggle. And Lamar's hesitancy, or they have some cuffs on him from not running. Like, we have not seen what we've seen previously from Lamar, where he can just take off and run and rip off like a 20, 25-yard run. And I don't know if that's what the defense is designed to stop, if they're kind of mushing it up, but he definitely isn't looking to do that either. So that's a weapon that you also don't have to defend. And I think that's what makes this Ravens team, if I'm a little leery, because what they're built on is staying on script, running the ball down your throat, and then getting those sneaky points deep when you're like, maybe they would have gone for it, or maybe they would have punted. And that's what Justin Tucker would come in and get you some sneaky points here and there. And they're not getting that either. So I think you're seeing that lack of explosiveness at times where they get behind the sticks, and then their inability to use Justin Tucker. And I think to me, I'm like, those are kind of things you need in the playoffs.
I still see the Ravens as the most schizophrenic team in football, because depending on the drive, they'll come out and look like, especially on offense, like Derrick Henry is cooking, and when Lamar is cooking, like, this looks like an impossible offense to stop. And then for like 7 consecutive drives, they'll get, into 3rd and long situations. They can't do anything about it. And then Justin Tucker misses a 40-yard field goal. So it's like, I don't know. It just depends on which Ravens team shows up. And maybe once you get into the playoffs, they turn it on a little bit. But last year, it's the exact opposite of what happened. And I don't know that I'm confident that anything's going to be different this year with the problems that we've seen.
And Justin Tucker, I do want to state the Ravens did come out and say they're not looking to make a move at kicker at this time, which I think is fair. I mean, Justin Tucker, has until this season been touted as the best kicker in the NFL, right? And then this season, it's kind of started to fall off a little bit. And I think if we continue to see Justin Tucker miss some of these field goals that have been layups for him in the past, then maybe they do. But at this time, they're going to stick with him. But that's a huge detriment to this team, because when you have the best kicker in the NFL and you can kick it from 60 plus and feel pretty confident in that, and then you lose that, what does that do for this team too? So I just want to point that out, because could Justin Tucker be a reason the Ravens lose in the playoffs if they continue to play with him?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, very obviously.
Yeah, I think is that would be a concern if I was a Ravens fan. Like, the Ravens are going to go to the playoffs, but if you can't kick field goals,
okay. So this is what we were talking about previously, like with identity, and this is as a Cardinals fan, and you can see it when you're watching certain teams, like the Eagles. If it's a 4th and 1, what are they running? They're doing the push. If the Ravens get down and it's near the 40, 50, what are they going to do? They're probably going to kick a field goal and steal those points. Like, that's why they are one of the league leaders in scoring before the half. And because they can get into position quickly for Justin to kick a field goal. And when you don't have that anymore, now everything is called into question. Does John trust what Justin can do? Do they now go for it in that situation? Now they're starting to lose their identity, because parts of what normally works in their operation now are all out of whack. And that's not something you want to have going into the playoffs. Other teams have issues, but like, you go to the Chiefs, what are they going to do, right? They're going to get in position. Butker comes back. They're going to kick that field goal, or Mahomes is going to make something. Like, there's some things that happen that that are coming, and those are the identity of those teams. And I think when the Ravens start losing themselves, like they kind of are now, then you're like, uh-oh. Because I don't think I would be able to right now, if it was, a long field goal, and with a straight face, be like, Justin's going to make this, because that cost them the game. Like, these were the things that cost them the game, like their inability to convert on those points. That was it. So now it's like, now what do you do? Do you go off script of what you normally done? Do you totally change the identity? And then what does that do for your kicker too? A lot of interesting decisions that are going to be made coming down the stretch for the Ravens.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're talking about identity. Let's talk about the Bengals here, because their entire identity is their offense. And I haven't counted when they play defense. I don't know if they're playing with a full 11 group of people on the field at any given time, because it sure as hell doesn't feel like it. The Bengals defense they're 2-4. The Bengals as a team are 2-4 when they score over 30 points. To put this as a frame of reference, the rest of the NFL league is 75-3 when they score over 30 points in a game. So it just goes to show how absolutely abysmal this Bengals defense really is. I mean, it is atrocious. And
they gave up 400 yards to Russell Wilson, who's only done that like 2 other times in his career, even in his prime when he was winning Super Bowls.
That's bad.
And everyone walked away from this game going, wow, Steelers are really contenders. And obviously, the Steelers are a good team. But like, this Bengals defense is just pathetic. I've said it every week. It's pathetic. And it's so sad because if you're a Bengals fan, it's your last year probably with T. Higgins. You got Joe Burrow in his prime. He's healthy-ish, healthier than normal, which is good. The offense is clicking. Joe Burrow is playing like an MVP candidate, and you're just throwing it all out the window because your defense is just terrible. And you have to hang that on the front office. Like, the front office has completely let this team down. They've let the fans down. They've let Joe Burrow down. It's sad. It's a tragedy.
Yeah, and I mean, what are we going to title this podcast? Identity? Because you look at what the identity was of those Bengals teams that were winning and made it to the Super Bowl, is their defense. Joe Burrow, for all the praise he got and how good that offense, that wasn't the reason they were winning those games. It was that defense. It was the defense in that AFC title game that shut Mahomes down in the second half to where he couldn't do anything and turned the ball over. So that way the Bengals just had to kick a field goal to win the game. Like, people forget how some of these games shape up in the outcomes. And I think just guessing can surmise the front office for the Bengals largely are shaping their team based on the sentiment of the fans. I think the fans want the offense. They want Joe Burrow. They want Jamar Chase. They want to sign all these guys and have this like really good offense. And I told you on X, it's almost like they should have been investing in the other thing. Like, I get why the offense is sexy, but that's not what's going to win you these games. In the end, that's not what's going to do it. And I think this is a rude awakening for that front office and for this franchise of, as amazing as it is for Joe Burrow to put up quote unquote MVP stats, he kind of fucking has to. So what's better? Better? Is it better to just sit there and meat ride your fucking quarterback to be like, oh yeah, look at, he's like the best statistic? Yeah, because he fucking has to. Like, no, would you rather win games or have a statistical anomaly at quarterback? Like, and this is where we talked about a few weeks ago too, like where fans start losing their team, and especially in this modern age of X and YouTube comments and stuff, it's like they'd much rather defend their guy than be like, oh, we won the game. And I think that's where the difference is. That's fine. He can throw for 400 yards and they can lose.
Yeah, but I think it really is a double-edged sword, because at least you have Joe Burrow who can do that. You know what I mean? Like, at least Joe Burrow is having a historic season because he has to. And I think that shows the caliber of him as a quarterback, is the fact that, like, for them to even stay competitive in these games, he absolutely has to play to the best of his ability. There is no room for error, because if you do screw up, your team's going to lose. And even when you're not screwing up, your team's going to lose. But at the very least, you can rest your head easy at night on your pillow knowing I did everything I possibly could to try and put us in the best possible chance to win us the game. Now,
well, and not only that, but this defense doesn't have to be the defense of the past. If this defense is a little bit better, marginally better, with how talented Joe Burrow, or how good he's playing and how solid this offense is right now, this would be a deep playoff team if the defense was just a little bit better. It doesn't have to be all-star levels, but it's like historically pathetic, and that's where they run into problems, where it's not average, it's not slightly below average, it's pathetic. And that's why they're losing games.
Oh, yeah, no. And I could not believe I had the Bengals winning this game, because I knew what the Steelers' offense was. And to let Russell Wilson throw 400 yards on you, you should be ashamed of yourself. This is the same Steelers team that has won 2 games this season without scoring a touchdown. They've won solely by kicking field goals. Shout out to Chris Boswell. He's the number 1 scorer in all of the NFL right now. But like that just showcases how terrible this defense really is. And this was a game that I also had circle where I'm like, what's going to happen here? because it's like when an immovable object meets a whatever the hell the other part of it is, an unstoppable force or whatever the hell it is. It's like you have the Bengals offense against the Steelers defense. And like both of those are very, very good. And then on the flip side, you have the Steelers offense that's terrible and you have the Bengals defense that's terrible. What's going to happen there? And obviously we got to see this play out, but I was like, this is a game that's really going to showcase how bad the Bengals defense is and how good the Bengals offense is, and can they get over the hump of beating a Mike Tomlin-esque defense? And they did. The problem was their defense just couldn't shut it down.
Yeah, I think that one of the more like important players to this Bengals offense that I don't think we talk about enough or gets talked about in the media, but maybe the Bengals fans would, is Chase Brown, their running back. Every time he touches the ball, it almost looks like a house call. Like it looks like he breaks one and that thing is gone. And I think when you talk about the holistic nature of this Bengals offense, that's an underrated part, because yes, Joe Burrow is playing really well and he's putting up these just ridiculous numbers, which would be MVP-esque if he wasn't on this team. If he wasn't on this team, but I think Chase Brown, looking at the way he played was amazing. And the thing that sucks, the other million things that sucks if you're a Bengals fan, is it leaves your offense no room for error. If you look at the way this game played out late in it, there was a fumble return for a touchdown in the fourth quarter, which kind of put the game even further out of reach, made it 41-24. And it's like your offense can't even make mistakes because your defense is giving up so much that even if your offense has a blunder, which they do, like every offense is going to, then that was almost like that was it. That was the deal breaker because they couldn't come back from that anymore. That was it.
I just want to say real quick, I love this conversation. I love just sitting here and talking about how terrible the Bengals are. It's how sad all their fans are. It makes me so happy.
Jamar Chase said they were the team to beat beginning of the season. And
a lot of teams,
they're doing it.
They are certainly the team to beat.
Doing it. Last question on this Bengals team. Zach Taylor's on the hot seat. Like I think that's being floated around in a lot of NFL spaces. And I got to ask you guys, is that fair? Is this a fair sentiment for Zach Taylor to be on the hot seat? And compounding on that, is Zach Taylor the head coach next season?
I think he is, and I don't think it's fair that he's on the hot seat. Those are my two takes. I think they have an amazing defensive coordinator who gets praise across the league. And so you can't – I think if you're going to lay it at the feet of anybody, maybe it's the coordinator. But I honestly think it's just like what they have in the cupboard. Like this defense is just outside of their edge rushers with Hubbard and Hendrickson, like they don't have anything else. That's it. Like if those two guys don't get home and cause havoc, like it's not going well for this defense. And whatever decisions they were making on where to spend their money, I think they need to figure out in the secondary where they're actually spending that money, because this is a problem for them. People are just picking them apart, and I wouldn't put that at Zach Taylor because they're trying to find ways to win. It's just whatever they got in the cupboard is not working. So I don't know. I think that's a tough one. I wouldn't put it past them to fire Zach Taylor because I think they want to anyways, because of how they always start these seasons of just being in the shitter, even when they had a good defense. So I don't think it's fair that he is, but he probably is, but I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I agree that right now it's not his fault that their defense is total ass. I mean, he's working with what he's got, and that's all he can do as the head coach. But he should be fired because of the way they've started every single season when they should be competing for Super Bowls, and they're just coming out and losing immediately to terrible teams right off the bat every year. Like, that's not acceptable as a head coach. I also think you brought up Hendrickson, who's a beast. I really don't think it should be allowed for white people to wear dark visors. I think it looks so stupid. It looks so weird. He looks so much less intimidating. Like, you look like Max Crosby. He's a white guy, doesn't rock a visor. He looks scary as hell. I look at a white guy in a visor, and I picture like an 8-year-old kid making a character on Madden. Like, it just looks goofy. Doesn't make sense.
Also Hendrickson, when you look at a picture of him without his helmet on,
yeah,
he looks like a fucking cornball. Like, I think he needs the visor because if you look at him without, he kind of looks like a doofus. So you're kind of like, maybe the coaches one day were like, hey, nobody's like intimidated to block you. Can you please put this visor on? So people are kind of scared. And he's like, all right, yeah, coach, I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
Let's get crazy. Let's talk about the Bills. The Bills beat the 49ers in Monday night's game, 35-10.
Smoked.
Before we talk about the game, I guess I want to talk about leading up to the game. I mean, this was a snow game, right? So it's another year. It's another Bills Mafia request to summon Bills Mafia to come shovel the stadiums. Hey, all of our fans, can you come clean up the seats so you can sit here in this snowstorm and watch football? So do you guys have any ideas for the Bills to not have to ask their fans to shovel their stadiums every single year?
Build a fucking dome.
Crazy.
Like why?
They are building a new stadium, by the way.
But it doesn't have a dome.
No,
So
it's
they're
got
gonna
like a
be in the
roof
same-
for like
They got
three-fourths
like
of the roof.
Like a kind of roof. They should have built a dome. Why didn't you build a dome? You have Josh Allen. Like you have, why would you not want him performing always at his like peak optimal? Like I get the quote unquote home field advantage, but like, come on. That's just everybody was like tiptoeing around for the start of that game because nobody could even like get footing.
Yeah.
Like it's fun to
I don't
watch,
know.
but
Yeah, I was gonna say, as a fan, I think we need way fewer domes because I love watching games like that where they're just like playing backyard football. But yeah, I mean, it's very. I think they need to contract Elon Musk. He's got those flamethrower things. You just need a few of those
Yeah.
flamethrowers in that stadium, and that'll solve the problem real quick. But
The
it
other
is
thing-
crazy that they're like the only team that we hear about that's like, hey, we need you to come clean up our stadium, please, so we can play.
Yeah,
just
what
call.
they
the
need to
Here's
do-
$20 an hour and some hot dogs. Will you
They need
come
to call-
shovel?
they need to call whoever designed Lambeau and whoever runs that operation and figure out like how the Packers do it all the time because they get snow, maybe not as much in those big packs, but like they got a heated field. They got a crew that comes out and makes sure everything's cleaned out. Like I get that it's kind of fun fan fodder. I would be annoyed as fuck if I bought tickets to a game and showed up and it was just a giant pile of snow where I'm supposed to sit. Like, I'm sorry, no part of that is remotely fun to me. Give me a discount. Whatever, but like that would
Let
be
me flip the
annoying
script.
as shit.
Let me flip the script. If you didn't have to work on a Tuesday and you got to go to a Chiefs game, you're bundled up in just the warm. You got one of those vests on that's like a heated vest. You are
Which are
dressed to the nines. It is snowing. You are piss drunk. Does that not sound like a really good game to go to? Like if you lived in KC, like that would be honestly, if I didn't have to work the following day,
As a home
I would
fan,
100% do that. That'd be so much
As a home fan, I think it would be. I get the emotional attachment and how fun it would be. Imagine being a 49ers fan, like, hey, I'm going to go to this game in Buffalo, and I spent $200, and you show up, and you'll be like, where the fuck is my seat?
Yeah.
Like what? Okay, I get it. Cool. Now we have no tables to eat on. Fucking sweet. But now where do I sit?
And then you got some
okay.
shirtless Bills fan who's pissed drunk sitting next to you in the fucking snow. You're
Just
like,
throwing
what,
snowballs at the field goal when the ball's being kicked. Did you guys see that?
Oh my
Yeah, I
God.
saw
Yeah. I get it.
I watched that live and I saw
Sick.
snowballs fly by and I'm like, they're really trying to freaking pelt that ball out of the air. And I'm like, he got kind of close. Like it was on the camera.
He did
I was
get
like, that's
kinda
pretty
close.
sweet.
I saw the one dude for the Bills, like the fans are coming in, and he was like in a Santa outfit with a sign that just said "Bosa's a bitch." That's so good.
Bills Mafia,
they're-
man.
Hey, they're having a good
Love
ass
them.
time.
Gotta love
them. They are.
Respect to them. I get it. The home thing you got me slaps. Like yes, as a home fan, that would be kind of fun to go to. As an away fan, I'd be like, this is what
Yeah.
2-bit operation am I looking at? This is an NFL team. What is happening?
This looks like
It's
a high
also true that it's fun if there are relatively few snow games. Like if the second half of the season was like all these snow games and you don't actually get to see real competitive football and you're watching stupid shit, okay, that would be annoying. So the fact that it's not like all the time, so maybe it's good that we got some domes. But I think the Bills need to avoid the dome. I want to keep watching that forever.
Well, and
that's
we talk
true.
about home field advantage. Like the Bills won this game 35-10. The 49ers couldn't do anything because probably in large part due to the snow. They couldn't pass the ball because it's a blizzard, and they couldn't run the ball. And in fact, Christian McCaffrey got hurt. He's probably done for the season. Jordan Mason got
I think
hurt.
officially he is done for the season.
Yeah, and Jordan Mason also is going to IR, so they're now down to Isaac Guerriendo, their rookie running back that they drafted this year, as their starting running back. So the 49ers are, this game really did a number on them, and the Bills, like I said, they didn't pass much either. It was just mainly running because that's all they could do because of the blizzard.
Do you think we learned anything from this game? Because the 49ers were pretty much, I don't even know what team that was. Like, aside from their helmet, half of the team, like, there was no Bosa, there was no Trent Williams, there was no, McCaffrey he died early. Half their defense was gone. Like, I don't know if we learned anything from either team. It's like, yeah, 49ers, you're dead and you suck.
What I think we learned is that the 49ers season is over. I think that's what we learned in this game.
Pretty much. Yeah. I think that's the only takeaway you can really have is
He knew it was over when Brock Purdy just tried to bring the ball back to his head and just like fumbled the ball 15 yards straight in the air. And then it was such a blizzard that you could see him like looking up and he couldn't find the ball that was like floating above his own head. Yeah. It was a tough look for them.
Well, and Josh Allen, if you didn't know, he proposed to his now fiance Haley Steinfeld this weekend, which many are claiming is the only ring he will ever get. So is this the year for old Joshy boy? Are the Bills, are they Super Bowl contenders, and are they going to go all the way?
I think this is their year to get there, for sure.
I think so.
They look pretty freaking good.
They do.
But we've had this, would you rather be peaking now? Because it's tough to stay at this level for another 2 months, operating this way. Like, that's tough to do. A lot of teams look good in the middle of the season, and they struggle to hammer this out later in the season. I don't know. If they can keep this form, so we go back to what I thought about the Chiefs, like copy and paste. If you copy and paste this Bills team right now, the way they're playing, and I wouldn't even say it's because of Josh Allen, who I think is up there MVP candidate. I think it's him or Saquon at this point, if you're being serious about the conversation for MVP. But it's their running game,
Winston,
man.
For me.
Yeah, it's their running game. If their running game continues to operate like this, it's lights out. Because for everything that Josh Allen is, it's much easier for him, and it's fun. It's more fun for him to play when they can run the ball, because he doesn't even have all his weapons out there, and it's so easy because of how easily they're running the ball. And this is something to hang your hat on. And their defense looks pretty good. They're creating turnovers. They're getting off the field on third down. Like, these are all the things that are portable outside of Josh Allen having MVP season, but he's not having to do it all, which is, I would say, refreshing. If you're a Bills fan.
I think that's different. Exactly. Refreshing and different from years past, where instead of relying on Josh, much like Joe Burrow with the Bengals right now, instead of relying on Josh Allen to play hero ball all the time, this is really the first year where we've gotten to see an evolved running game to take some of the pressure off Josh Allen, which has been refreshing. And it also enables that offense to expand in other avenues besides making Josh Allen be the hero. Now it's a multi-dimensional offense, and it really opens up the opposing defense to be able to have, wreak havoc on them.
2 things I want to cash in on this year. 1, I want to be right about the Broncos. I feel right about it. 2, at the beginning of the season, I said Josh Allen's going to be our MVP, and I really want to cash those 2 checks in, because I'll feel really, 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 really good about both of those. And I think Josh Allen deserves it. I think the way he's playing, I think that's going to be the thing. He doesn't even have to turn it on yet, and they won 35-10. Like, I don't even think this was him turning it on, and they won 35-10.
No, this is him handing the ball to James Cook.
And he made some sick plays. The play that he made where Cooper flipped it back to him
that was
as a lateral, and he ran it in. That's fun. That's sick. That's just they're having fun. That's where I was thinking maybe, I think they're up there. That's the only reason I have them number 2 ahead of the Eagles, because the Eagles too often are stuck in neutral on offense, whereas the Bills, it seems like at any time they can just start going. And believe it or not, fun fact out of this game when I was doing research for the pod, Purdy threw it 18 times. Okay? Purdy threw it 18 times yesterday. Did Josh Allen throw it more or less?
I'm going to say less.
I would say less too.
One less. He threw it 17 times. That was it.
15.
James Cook had 14 carries, 107. That's what it is. Their ability to hand the ball off. Ray Davis, I think that's what I like about this team. I'm not even we all love Josh Allen, but it's the running game that's going to probably make them.
Well, and Ray Davis needs more flowers too, because he fought his way into this lineup, and that guy is an incredible change of pace back from James Cook. They are.
I have James on my dynasty league.
I also have James Cook. I was actually talking to a Bills fan watching the game yesterday, and I said, this guy is really fucking up my shares of James Cook, but he's electric. And he's one of those guys that nobody really expected anything. They didn't really expect anything out of him. He fought his way onto the field, and he's out there, and he looks like an RB1. He looks good.
Yeah.
I agreed.
It's breaking my heart a little bit, but you are correct, and he does look really great, so kudos to him. Let's go over to Kickoff Karaoke, and we'll get the hell out of here. So Kickoff Karaoke, for anybody who does not know, is a season-long contest between Scotty, Allen, and myself, in which we pick the spreads against 4 chosen NFL games every single week. We're keeping track. So we're keeping track of who is getting the games right and what our records currently are. And the loser is going to have to sing the national anthem live for all of you over on X before the Super Bowl. So the current standings are this. Scotty is in first place with 30. Alan is tied for first place at 30. And then there's old Slapdog hanging down at the bottom with 24. So I'm...
You're the only one of us that got all 4 points, though, last week.
That's true.
You got all 4 games right.
True. I'm trying to climb
what
this
was
ladder.
the one you deviated on? I was trying to remember.
I have to go.
What was the one? There was one of them that... because you even said it. You're like, I'm going to go the other way.
I will pull it up. I want
to give you your flowers.
Thank you.
This is for
I
slaps.
appreciate that.
This is for slaps. So Slapdog deviated in... the only ones that were different, I had the Falcons, you guys had the Chargers, and then me and Slapdog had the Eagles, and Alan had the Ravens.
That's what it was. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
So, well, thank you. I
You went
appreciate the
Fuck you,
flowers.
Kirk Cousins.
I'm still at the bottom, and that's okay. We're climbing. So, 6 games behind. There's still a little bit of season left. So prayers for me that you guys get these wrong. We'll start with Scotty as the reigning champ, who has continued to be at the top of the leaderboard. I know we're tied for first, but Scotty, you have been in first place for the longest. So the 4 games that we've chosen this week are the Packers at the Lions, the Bears at the 49ers, the Seahawks at the Cardinals. I hate you guys for doing that. And the Chargers at the Chiefs. We will start with the Packers at the Lions. The Lions are 3.5-point favorites. Scotty, who are you taking?
Okay, so first of all, I chose these games because, first of all, I think they're going to be good games. But second of all, the lines on all these are not 1 point, 1.5 point. They're like decent lines. So
Yeah.
this is a complex one here. So like Packers and Lions at 3.5 points.
I know.
It's a little crazy.
Crazy.
I'm going to go with the Lions. I think, again, the Lions are the best team in the NFL right now. They're missing some real key pieces on defense, which could prove to be unfortunate. But I've bet with the Lions all season long, especially when they're at home. I think it's done me well so far. And ultimately, if both these teams show up and play their best football, the Lions should win this game.
Okay. Alan, who are you taking?
I'm going to stick with my trends. I like the Packers. I think the Packers are peaking at the right time. If you look at the 3 teams the Packers have lost to, they're all double-digit win teams already in the Eagles, Vikings, and Lions. And so I think this is time the Packers grow up and finally win one of these games. I think that's what you have to do if you want to make some hay in the playoff. Also, that 3.5. I mean, you look at what the Lions have done the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The Bears could have gotten them. You look at the Texans could have gotten them, 2 teams that are kind of wavering. And so I think the Lions are gettable. I'm not like confident. I wouldn't bet the farm on it, but I would take the Packers at 3.5.
Okay. I'm a Dan Campbell fan. I've been a Dan Campbell fan since last season, and I'm going to take the Packers here. I'm doing it. I think, I think the Packers are going to win this game. I still think the Lions are the best team in the NFL, but I think the Lions, they need to lose this game to be able to reach their full potential. And I do think the Packers are heating up at the right time. It's a divisional game. And that 3.5-point spread, the Lions still could win this game, but I think that the Packers could cover. So I think this is going to be a really frisky game, and I'm going to take the Packers here. So
3.5 points in any divisional game is automatically a toss-up.
It is. Mm-hmm. So I once again diversifying my profile here. We'll go to the Bears at the 49ers. The 49ers are currently 3.5-point favorites. Alan is number 2 in line. We'll start with you.
Yep, I'm going to go with the Bears, not for any other reason, which there probably would be many. They're going to get the head coaching bump where you've moved on from a head coach. You automatically win the next game. I'm going to go with the Bears.
Yeah. Any team that's not the Jets automatically gets the interim coach bump.
Well, they have their head coach and their GM and their quarterback are all one person right now, so that kind of makes it difficult. Oh, my gosh. My heart wants to say 49ers so I can try and climb the ladder here. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the 49ers because I need to diversify. I'm scared, though. Admittedly, I think the Bears really could get this done. But selfishly, I need to try and figure out a way to climb this ladder and this loss.
This is not even from here on until you make up all the ground. It's going to be not even about the game. It's just like I got to mix this up.
I got to do something here because I'm at the bottom.
Yeah, it's kind of bullshit. You should have to choose first if you're in last place.
I'll choose the first one in this next game.
Yeah,
which also
then we can always just choose the same one that you did, and then it's over.
That's
Oh, true.
That's fishy.
Because me and Scotty are already at the top.
This is why we rotate
team up
with who goes
We
first.
should team up. We should. I already wrote mine on the sheet. You can see it.
You shouldn't have wrote it on the sheet. It's not my fault.
Scouts.
This is the honor system here. All right, we'll do Seahawks at the Cardinals. The Cardinals.
I'm choosing the Bears, by the way. In case you were wondering.
Scotty, I'm so sorry. You typed it in there.
Looking at the sheet, we assume
I'm over here
everybody else-
dressed like Mike Ditka, and you're not even letting me pick the Bears.
Sorry. Why do you like the Bears? Sorry.
Yeah,
Scotty.
what
Why do you like the Bears?
makes you like the Bears so much?
Because the 49ers are dead. That's pretty much all there is to it.
That's good analysis.
Yeah, they are pretty close to dead.
All right, Seahawks at Cardinals. Slaps. Who do you got?
Cardinals are 2.5-point favorites, which is honestly mind-boggling. God, every time I go against the Cardinals, they win. That's the problem. Every time I have chosen against the Cardinals when we have them on here in Kickoff Karaoke, I say they're not going to win, they're not going to do it, and they always do. So I think I'm just going to have to follow the Cardinals this time. I think I'm going to take the Cardinals. I'm really scared because I don't think the Cardinals. I don't know. They're genuinely just a team, and I said this at the beginning of the episode. They're one of those teams that I don't feel confident in any given week that they're going to win, but they always surprise me in the weirdest of times. So I'll take the Cardinals here, and I'll go to you next, Scotty.
I'm also taking the Cardinals. I think this is another sort of schizophrenic team, and if they show up, they can compete with anybody. And I kind of feel the same way about the Seahawks, but in a more pessimistic way. I always feel like the Seahawks underperform expectations a little bit, and they're kind of a frisky team. You can't overlook them, but I just always kind of expect them to not look as good as they should look. And I think that's going to be the story of this game as well, where the Cardinals are going to come out and do just enough. They got a kicker who doesn't miss. That's pretty awesome. And I think they're going to pull it out against their division rival.
Okay. Alan?
Cardinals is well. I think we discussed it earlier. I think the things that they need to clean up, they can clean up. And I think being at home, plays a large part of some of these mental issues that they have. And so I think being home changes a lot of things for them mentally. And I'm just kind of erring on them cleaning up a few things that are easily correctable.
Okay. In the last game, here's the Chargers at the Chiefs. Scotty's Super Bowl of the year.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are 4-point favorites. Scotty.
Yeah.
You taking the Chargers here, right?
No, I'm not going to take the Chargers.
Okay.
I'm very tempted to, only because of the 4-point line. The Chiefs favored by 4 points against literally anybody in the NFL is not a good bet to make. Like, that is insane because they have barely beat anybody by over 4 points for the entire season. But I'm going to go with the Chiefs because they're my team. I think the Chargers are ass. I think they're worse than people expect. Of course, a team being ass does not mean the Chiefs are going to win handily because that's just clearly not the case. So I think what we're going to see is two teams that do everything they can to make it a one-score game throughout the entire game, and they're going to fuck up some shit. They're going to give up some plays that they shouldn't give up, and at the end of the game, it's going to be like a 6-point game. But the Chiefs are going to win.
Okay, Alan is the other Chiefs fan. I'm assuming you're also going to take the Chiefs here.
I'm going to take the Chiefs, and not because of being a Chiefs fan, because I'm going to go against the public because I think prevailing thought amongst the public is the Chiefs are struggling. The Chiefs are struggling. The Chiefs are struggling. They almost lost to the Chargers. They almost lost to the Raiders. Obviously, the Chargers are going to cover the 4 points. Obviously, the Chargers can come in here and do damage. So NFL doesn't make sense sometimes. I'm just going to roll the dice and say the NFL is not going to make sense this week. Chiefs somehow win big, and everybody's going to be like, oh, okay, well, maybe the Chiefs are good, ? And that's probably going to be the storyline coming out of this game.
Okay. Well, Alan, you've already decided to put my input in for me, and you have me picking the Chargers here, but I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm taking the Chiefs. I really do think, for almost everything that you just said, I think that, I don't know.
This prime time for you to get a point on us, bro.
Yeah, this would be a good point steal.
This is a way better bet than the 49ers.
Bears 49ers, Chargers Chiefs would be the two games we got to pay attention to this week if you do this. Do it for the pod.
Like you guys want me to.
Well, who do you think is going to win the game?
I do think the Chiefs. It doesn't even matter who I think is going to win the game. Are they going to cover the spread?
Because if the Chiefs pick a field goal to win, then the Chargers cover.
The Chargers cover the spread.
I understand the rules. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you knew how
honestly,
betting. I thought we were just explaining this.
no, I'm just saying. Honestly, how do you feel about it? Like, you can play the gamesmanship, but honestly, how do you think the Chiefs are going to cover the spread or not?
I do think the Chiefs are going to cover the spread.
All
I
right,
do.
well, there you go.
I think
all it is.
they're going to win by a touchdown, at least. And the Chargers are kind of interesting. The Chargers have been interesting all year, but every time I bet against the Chiefs, it bites me in the ass. Every single time I go against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, it bites me in the ass. And I do think the Chiefs are susceptible. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it the last 2 weeks. But I think the Chiefs are going to do it here. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game a little bit more handily than they have in the last couple games.
Yeah,
that would be so sick. That would be so sick.
I think it's going to be the Chiefs. As much as I really do want to take the Chargers as a coin flip, I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm going to roll with the Chiefs because I think that's what's going to happen. So,
okay.
And that's it. Gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure getting to do this show with all three of us today. And fingers crossed we can do it again next week. I know we all live very, very busy lives, and this season has been a little bit different than years past. So I've enjoyed doing this with you guys. I appreciate you guys. The last thing I'm going to tell all you brainiacs out there, go check out LeatherBrainz.com with a Z. We've got daily content over there from some fantastic writers that are putting out a variety of content. Go check out LeatherBrainz.com. It's free daily content. Check it out. You will not regret it. And gentlemen, let's get the hell out of here. We
are
out.
This is our Colts. This is our team. We bleed blue. This is our Colts. Whether win or lose, we love them. For the shoe, Colts forge. Let the world hear us now. This is our team. Go Colts.